Welcome to Legal Meets, a look at legal beyond the law. A podcast by Legaler. On this episode of Legal Meets, we meet Andrew Arruda, CEO and co-founder of Ross Intelligence, the creators of the world's first artificially intelligent lawyer. Hi, Andrew.
Hey there, how you doing?
I'm very well, very well. Thank you for joining us on the first ever episode of the Legal Meets podcast. It's great to have you on.
I'm honored to be part of this inaugural episode, and I'm sure you'll have many more to come.
Yeah, exciting times. And so you're all the way in San Francisco, and I'm over here in Sydney, Australia. So it's good to connect, and hopefully I've got you at a decent hour.
Yes, well, it's a pretty good time here, and it's always interesting talking to folks in Australia because you guys are time travelers. You're ahead of time.
Yeah, that's right. I think today's a good view into the future. Talking about Ross Intelligence and AI technology that you've been working on. It's quite fitting to have you on the first podcast because we will be discussing insights into the legal industry and how these ideas can act as a catalyst for innovation. And it's very fitting to have you on today. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and very smooth move from the future in Australia to a future of legal tech. So you're a natural.
Well, we just wanted to start with obviously your T-shirt says it all. It's the hottest, I guess, legal tech company in the world right now, I'd say, and Ross has been called everything from Siri for law to the robot lawyer, conjuring images in people's minds of HAL 9000, a sci-fi sounding kind of a droid. What exactly is it, and how's it all going to work?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not a robot. We do get robot lawyer a lot. I have an affinity towards robots generally because I find them very cute, but unfortunately, Ross is not a robot. What Ross is it's software. It's quite easy to use and set up. And what we really focus on is right now what we're focusing on is helping lawyers upfront with their legal research, getting from question to answer as quick as possible, keeping lawyers up to date. The law changes, a case can last, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And, we traditionally have to go back in and recheck our research, and that's pretty time intensive. And so we have the ability for Ross to do that for lawyers as well. And very kind of excitingly, we're playing around with the ability for Ross to also help draft some legal docs as well. So taking a crack at training Ross on how to write some legal memorandum. And so this is just what we've been up to for the last year. At its core, what Ross Intelligence wants to do is build AIs that help lawyers scale their abilities and do more than ever before humanly possible.
That all sounds amazing. I think that's you hit it on the head. The actual misconception is that the robots are replacing the lawyers when it really seems that, I guess you could compare it to when Excel spreadsheets came out for, in the accounting world. It didn't necessarily replace accountants. It allowed them to do more complex, handle more complex information, be more efficient, and give better insights to the client. So I imagine you see Ross playing a similar role in AI in general, not replacing lawyers, but coming to their side.
100%. I think what AI in the law represents is two things, and they're both great. One, it allows lawyers to focus on kind of more high value activity that clients are willing to pay for. So a lot of the stuff that we're helping lawyers with is things that they can't necessarily bill their clients for, like that billable time with legal research. Firms now, are underbilling that significantly or not billing for it at all. The other thing it does that I think is what really we get excited about is it enhances that lawyer's ability. So instead of having, that associate be out there being a data retrieval machine, they're actually engaging with the law, looking at passages, seeing how they fit the fact pattern, and helping advocate for their client really early on. And so I think AI really enables us to kind of really enhance our human skills and not have to focus on some of those skills that machines do a better job with.
Yeah, that to me sounds, where lawyers should be offering value. It's that you should be an advocate and doing the exciting work and not the menial work. And I think
Yes.
that's how we view technology at Legaler as well. So I think it's very exciting where it's all heading.
Yes, well, I mean, I looking around Legaler on my way in and kind of checking it out, I could definitely see that there'd be a great possibility to kind of include some Ross interactions with the lawyer, perhaps with a client. That's what we want to facilitate. It's the same thing you guys want to facilitate. We want the fact that it shouldn't be prohibitively expensive and impossible to have access to a trained lawyer.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more later on, I guess. But the access to justice thing is, it is a buzzword, and it pops up, but for good reason.
Absolutely.
Because there's over 4 billion people on the planet without access to justice and the rule of law. So it's a big problem. But we'll talk more about that later on.
Yes.
But actually, I read somewhere that you wanted to be a lawyer since you were 7 years old, and maybe
Yes.
overdosed on Law and Order. And is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, so I had this really cool uncle who used to let me eat ice cream at all hours of the day.
Sounds like a good guy.
And sometimes he would, yeah, he was. And he would let me kind of crash with him and hang out as my babysitter. And we were watching the show once, and they had a witness come up and testify on something. And there was a translator in the courtroom, and the translator mistranslated a word. And then they had to, do the trial all over again. And I remember asking him as a kid, I was like, what was that about? He was like, oh, that's how important it is. This is what kind of justice looks like. And I was like, I really like this show. And I kind of got this idea in my head that I wanted to be able to kind of be that justice crusader and be as cool as some of the lawyers in Law and Order.
So you were hooked.
That's kind of how it all started.
I guess it's a bit too late for me, but that show suits for me. I'm always amazed how they can look at one page and a whole a court case reveals itself in a blank piece of paper.
Yeah, so. I mean, hey, those dramas on TV, it makes our job as lawyers look like it's always very exciting.
Maybe with Ross, it might be like that in the future.
Hey, you know what? We're working on some neat stuff, so let's see what we can do.
Very cool. So, once you, I guess, got the drive to become a lawyer and found your way to the bar, it wasn't very long after that you decided to kind of become one of the founders of Ross and lead the company. So what was it that kind of made that choice really easy for you? And I guess there's this kind of entrepreneurial leap that you have to take to kind of believe in something. What was it that really struck a chord with you and kind of let you take that leap?
It was a combination of things, as most of these things are, and I think I've had a lot of time to reflect about it because I get asked a lot of the time, what made you do it and why. Earlier on, I used to get that question, and it was kind of more like, why would you do that? And now it's like, oh, why did you do that? Because a lot of folks know about Ross Intelligence. But
it makes sense in retrospect, right?
Yeah, in retrospect, yeah. Not when we were maxing out all our credit cards.
Yeah, right. The startup dream.
Yeah. But I think it was a mixture of, I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. I was at a small law firm, and I had done legal research and a lot of that grunt type work for a long time. And so I knew that there was a better way. So it was a combination of frustration with the current tools. And then the other thing is our CTO and a fellow co-founder, Jimo Viagle, who actually came up with the idea for us. When we were chatting about it, he was like, hey, you know what, Andrew, if you think about it, you can have a certain amount of human clients using the tools you have currently. But if we make Ross happen, and equip the lawyers in the world with this tool, how much more people will be able to access the law? So I just saw it as this force multiplier. And I was like, you know what? I could have a bigger impact on a wider amount of people globally needing to access the law than me, myself, in the practice where I was. And so I jumped ship and started on and became a co-founder at Ross.
Well, that's, I guess, again, going back to the vision that it requires to actually not give up a cushy job, but, take a risk. And it seems like there was a good combination of elements there that, I guess a founder that had started coding when he was 10 years old, yourself
right.
having the legal experience, and again, the entrepreneurial bone. Do you think it's really is that coming together that really kind of, gets you to where you are today? Is it kind of having all those elements in the right place?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the time people say, what can you point to different success points for us so far? And we still have tons more to do. But I think right from the inception, our other co-founder, Pargles Daulio, was studying AI and really into AI. So we had two technical co-founders and me, myself, as a lawyer coming on. And so that's been the kind of spirit we've had at this company since day one, where we're marrying both the technology and the legal world. And if you're going to have success in legal tech, I think you have to have that yin and yang between the two forces.
Yeah, and I guess that, like you said, that technical, that legal industry insight as well, right? Because I guess bringing a product to the legal industry is quite unique, and that's probably why, in
Absolutely.
some ways, I think there's this huge wave of legal tech that's really taking grip right now, and whether you like it or not, it's happening. But I think that's why for a long time it was a bit of an echo chamber in some sense, where it wasn't that they weren't aware of the technology; it was more that the adoption of it was, I guess, tricky with legislation, solicitors' rules, all that kind of stuff, the bar ethics laws. So what do you think is going to be, I guess, that wall falling down? What's going to be the thing that, I guess, even with Ross, that is really going to make lawyers not be afraid of change and kind of move forward with technology?
Well, I think to have any success, it needs to be the right time with the right technology and the right team. And so I chatted a bit about that earlier, team. And I think what really is going to be that event has actually I'm pretty certain has already happened. And that was 2008, especially in the United States. And so from our perspective and what we're seeing on the ground is, clients of, large law firms and small law firms just kind of said, hey, you know what, we're going to have more insight into what your billing principles are. They started pushing back on a lot more things. And so, necessity is the mother of invention, whatever that saying is. I think what firms saw is, hey, you know what, maybe that technology, that we saw for XYZ could work here and here. And so I think the real secret to success in law moving forward is, the right people, the right technology, and the right processes. So I think that's happening. Yeah, I think so. I think there's tons more to do. And I think, when you talk to people about legal tech, as I'm sure you do very regularly, it's a very nascent kind of tech field, but that's what makes it so exciting. There's just so much to do because in many ways the legal world's lagging behind health and financial world. And so there's tons of stuff we can improve and help lawyers with.
Yeah, that's definitely an exciting place to be. So looking again, I guess to the people that are going to be really adopting technology from day one, I guess this generation coming through the law schools, in Australia alone, you've got, I guess, 15,000 law students graduating every year into a market of 66,000 lawyers. So again, there's, some are calling it the new arts degree, but, law seems to be a great background for, I guess, any which way you want to go as a student. But just in the last 2 weeks alone, I've been asked to write articles on, I guess, for careers guides for law schools, wondering about what's going to be happening and, what skills, I guess, law students should be learning. Is there any, I guess, particular advice you have to those, students right now that are in the throes of this kind of shift in technology, that are really kind of wondering, should I be learning to code? Should I kind of be studying computer science? Is my job going to be there when I leave the industry? What do you think is the biggest key for them right now in kind of helping them move forward?
Yeah, I think, the should lawyers learn how to code question is one that there's great points on either side. But I actually think before we get into that, or, I would encourage students to just make sure that they are aware of all the technology that they can bring into their practice. And they could really lead kind of an innovation strategy at their firms by outperforming some of their, folks in their class or, at other law firms, et cetera, by bringing in the use of technology. So, having the access to a full suite, I think Ross is a tool that lawyers put in their toolkit on how best to deliver value to their clients. And so my advice is, first of all, no need to freak out. I think I also think that the second thing is we're going to see the ability for lawyers to get more work if technology is used correctly. And so I think what we'll start to see is the emergence of a larger legal market that hasn't been addressed as of yet because the lawyers weren't tooled correctly. And so, even just we're interacting right now via Legaler, that could be something that enables you to access a more rural population and kind of address that need. And yes, well, we need to have some reforms in rules and regulations, most likely. But I think if at our core, what we're trying to do is provide great overall service to our clients, and there's a lot of technology you can do to really amplify that. And so I would say, hey, you know what? It's an exciting time. It's not that scary of a time,
Yeah, but I guess it's like anything, it's not bigger or stronger or smarter. It's actually about adaptation. So, the natural selection rules still kind of apply here. And I think the young, as you hit it on the head, the young students that really embrace, and they are just by nature because they're obviously grown up in in a different world of this omnipresence of kind of technology, but it's definitely the ones that embrace that are moving forward. And you're seeing a lot of law students now with a dual kind of computer science and law degree.
Yes.
And you've got Codex over at Stanford that are kind of really meshing the two together nicely. So it's exciting to see kind of where it's all going for the next generation. So
Absolutely.
Andrew, looking more closely at Ross and again at the technology and what they'll be adopting, the machine learning capabilities of the actual platform, I guess, make it smarter with every query, I guess every day where it's updated with new legislation, all these kinds of things. Do you think it's safe to say that even right now it's possibly the smartest, I guess, lawyer, built on the IBM Watson platform, tapping into all that, knowledge and everything that you guys have uniquely built? Do you think it's fair to say it's the smartest lawyer right now?
I like to think that it, when used, can kind of enhance lawyers so that they become this world's smartest lawyers. So that's kind of what we're after, is like our pursuit is to build out Ross to be that aid. Ross is never going to go into court, advise and advocate for a client. And so that's not what it does. But what it can do is make you as a lawyer the best lawyer you can be. Right now we started with that legal research. We're testing Ross in a variety of different areas in terms of the legal research world, but also testing Ross capabilities for a whole bunch of other things. And so that's what we want. We want to build out a suite of AIs that lawyers can tap into to make them the best in the world. So, I mean, it's exciting, and we've gotten a lot of those comparisons and kind of thinking about, Ross writing the bar exam and stuff like that, which is really fun. But I think when you think about it, we started building Ross about a year back in the US when we made our move from Canada. And so in about a year's time, we've been able to accomplish what we have. So it's been very quick. And why I highlight that is typically, when one lawyer starts at a firm a year later, it's hard to make a lot of progress. But not only has Ross made tons of progress, it's completely scalable and can be tapped into by lawyers around the United States. So I think that's really exciting about where that's going to go.
Very cool. And so again, looking at, we touched on it a bit earlier, the access to justice issue. So again, it comes up all the time, and it's very high on the agenda for especially the American Bar Association. But the interesting part is that that magic marker, the 80% mark, is, I guess, strewn across Australia, UK, Canada. So pretty much the developed world all experience this kind of, this shutout from access to justice. So I guess, where do you see Ross really playing the biggest part in kind of opening that door and knocking down that barrier?
I think it's going to do two things. And one thing I want to say right now is a lot of the time, it's simple to say legal technology is going to enable access to justice. And the question is, well, how?
What does that mean? Yeah.
What does that mean? And I think the way we're doing it at Ross is seeing that you very much need humans in that process. You can't just invent technology and it's not going to solve problems on its own. And so what we've committed to at Ross is giving Ross completely for free to deserving organizations, legal aid clinics, community legal clinics. And so that's something that we've already started with and something that's going to be central to us. So we want to ensure that the technology we have can enable that. The other thing, I think, other than us giving the technology away for free to deserving organizations, is the fact that if we start equipping a lot of these recent legal graduates who, as you know, and as everyone hears about, are graduating in record rates without jobs, in record amounts of debt, we were able to equip these lawyers with a variety of legal tools, whether that's enhanced by AI or not. This technology will be able to also help serve that massive market that's being kind of overlooked. So I think a combination of an effort to ensure that your technology is accessible by deserving organizations, and then on top of it, equipping human lawyers with the ability to then access that market. A lot of the folks that can't get access to a lawyer are not flat broke. They just don't have hundreds of dollars an hour to kind of get that advice. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing the impact of not just Ross, but the full suite of tools that are coming out now, and no doubt will be continued to be built going into the future.
Yeah, like you said, there's this latent market of unmet needs that technology really, similar to other platforms, I guess, whether it's an Uber where it's connecting excess resources, people have a car at home coming into the market. I guess legal is quite similar, where it's about matching those resources together, and that can include all kinds of things of value-based pricing, a rationalization of the actual pricing to where it's more based around value. So it's quite exciting to see Ross playing a role in that as well. And again, it's going to be very exciting when the platform's fully live. So you got a bunch of law firms, I guess, kind of around the world, kind of using the platform right now.
Yeah, well, right now it's mainly used in the United States, trained out in U.S. bankruptcy law. We have international firms using it, but the next few months we're going to be releasing Ross in some other practice areas and continuously building on that success. I mean, the joke I always say is, if we were able to just have $1 billion, we'd be in every country, in every practice area, but you got to go step by step. And it's something that has been very fun.
Yeah, that old 1%. You just need 1% of China, right? So,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right, very cool. So I guess, up till now, Ross has had quite a dream run. There was the one pager in the Wall Street Journal by IBM. It was very cool. You got a great team coming together. You've partnered with IBM, graduated from Y Combinator, one of the best accelerators on the planet. So now you've also teamed up with Dentons, and they've invested in Ross, the world's largest law firm. So what's next for you guys? And I guess what do you see as the biggest challenge, kind of getting Ross on that track to kind of do what we think it's going to do?
Yeah, well, I think now it's just a matter of time. So folks have heard about us. We continue to kind of grow and build out our partner law firm network. I think the biggest challenge is always going to be, like I said, I wish I could be across a whole bunch of practice areas, and as do everyone at Ross. And so it's that lock stop, and we want to just be everywhere at once. And so what we essentially do is continue to build out Ross, make great partners. And what's really interesting is, we're being used by solo practitioners, small, medium, large size law firms, international, in-house. And there's been interest from government, and we're going to be working with law schools too. So I'm really excited because I really just think we're in execution mode, and it's about just continuing what we've been up to, continue to build out a great team. And, I'm really looking forward. I've never felt more confident about the company. So it's been a really great time.
All right, good stuff. And so I guess when can law firms, that are listening today, lawyers, how can they get in touch with the Ross, platform? How can they kind of get on board and actually try out the platform?
Yeah, so if you're practicing in bankruptcy and insolvency, can get you up and running very quickly, and you can contact us at team@rossintelligence.com. And if you have some other large practice areas, we also kind of listen to inbound requests for different areas we're going into, looking at a variety right now, labor and employment, IP, insurance, tax, securities, family. So if you're also interested in kind of pitching what practice areas we should be focusing on next, feel free to reach out as well. So that's team@rossintelligence.com.
All right, it all sounds great, and we're all very excited. We want to thank you, Andrew, for joining us today on the very first episode ever of LegalMeets podcast. And I really wish you good luck on all your endeavors, and can't wait to see Ross in action and changing the legal world.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm very excited about what's going on with Legaler. So I'm really looking forward to the future, and who knows about us working closer together too.
Yeah, I think there's something there. So we'll keep talking.
Absolutely.
Cheers, Andrew. Have a great evening. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.